Now, where did the idea of EVE Online originate from?
Oh wow! So that's going back before my time at the company, but I mean there were a lot of really good kind of like those original sandboxy type games, which from way back when. I mean, Ultima Online. I mean, what a great example. Obviously, I mean, a game which I played when I was about 11 years old was Elite, which is very much there's this huge galaxy and you're in this ship and you can have different ships and you fight pirates. I mean, there are, that certainly has influenced me an awful lot going down the line. So I think you can see those influences. The people who originally founded the company and founded Making EVE, they came from a previous business which was around creating virtual reality, creating these shared meeting spaces. So I think they've always had this strong sense of creating virtual worlds, creating these universes which people can live within and have a really meaningful sort of time when they're in there. So I think those are some of the sort of the big influences that are in there, and I think Iceland itself. I think if you spend any time here and you look at the country, and if you actually I mean, I've lived here for 3.5 years now, and you actually get to know the people and you get to understand a little bit. I'm not Icelandic myself, but you get to understand the psyche a little bit. You can see that there are some pretty strong parallels of why EVE is what it is and why it is.
How have you seen this online game grow over the past decade?
Very well. I mean, we've grown every single year that we've been live. So at the end of every year, our subscriber numbers have gone up. Sometimes that's been a bit close. 2011 was an interesting year for us, but I mean, it is. I think that the interesting thing for me is that it has been very steady growth. We have a growth curve which is just not represented anywhere else in the industry. I mean, normally you ship a game, you get a huge spike of people coming in, and then it tails off, and then the game dies. World of Warcraft has obviously bucked that trend. I mean, it's a phenomenally successful game, but I know they're not growing at times, and they've had off years, but they're still phenomenally successful. But you look at a lot of MMOs that go out and they have this this huge spike at the beginning, and then they slowly die off, and then eventually you have people kind of clinging onto the servers with about 10 people on them. So I think the fact that we started very small, we didn't go out with this massive bang. We started very small. It was a pretty rough game at the beginning, but we got our early adopters in, and they formed this very hardcore community. And I think it was that. I think it was the fact that we were able to get a community together who cared deeply about this game, and then build around that. And I think that's what we've done. We've continually built out these our subscriber numbers to the point where we have a very, very vibrant community which is still growing and going in a good direction.
What are the challenges in the online gaming space today with so many free-to-play games?
I think it's an incredibly amazing, very rich and inspiring market that we're in right now. I think the challenges are how do you actually build a game where if people want to give you money for it, and how do you start differentiating yourself? I think the great thing about the market right now is that there are a lot of games coming out. There are a lot of new people getting into making these games, but I think the challenge really is around we still don't really know how the free-to-play model works in this industry yet. I mean, a lot of people make a lot of assumptions. They make some pretty grand sweeping claims, but I think we're still learning what it is. And my concern is that good companies and good developers with great ideas will suffer as we learn, and some of those people will fall by the wayside, because honestly I love competition. I love people being in this marketplace and forcing us to continue to evolve and innovate, and I'm really glad that there are plenty of people sort of trying to rise to that challenge. But free to play is don't let people kid you. There's a lot of people who say we know everything about free to play, and we don't yet. We're still experimenting with an awful lot of things as an industry. But the good thing is I see really good progress on it. I see really good direction. I see really good momentum. I see good learning. I see people wanting to share. So it's certainly a challenging time in terms of that business model, but I think this industry has never been stronger.
Can you talk about how EVE Fanfest came about?
Well, I think EVE fundamentally is about a virtual world which has a very, very committed population. and everything that we do is about creating meaning in this virtual world. I often spend a lot of my time in interviews, and I never say the word game. You know, it's very much about, there's this virtual world which gives real meaning. You know, people love to go and interact within it with other people. And I think if you have that focus from the very beginning, which is on the people who are playing your game, it's not CCP trying to create a game where other people follow what I want them to play, if you kind of get it. We say, here is this world, you go play it the way you want to play it. I'm not going to tell you how to enjoy this virtual world. And I think if you take that attitude, and people are so important to the success of your game, of course you bring them together. You know, at some point you want to cross out of that virtual world, bring it back into the real world. And you know, we talk about people having, you know, real meaning in these things. You know, we often go, you know, you get somebody comes in on a trial, and then they become a subscriber, and then they stay, and then they become more and more involved, and then maybe they become a leader of people within the game. And then at some point it falls over, and they start meeting each other in the real world. And then eventually you come to FanFest and you go and get a tattoo. You know, it's that traversing the worlds, and it's all about people getting meaning out of it. And I think you see that here. I mean, you just look around at all the people here and the buzz for it, and I think they love what we're doing, and they love the fact that they can meet these people, that they have these great online experiences with.